Well, hello. Oh, nope, Rusty, hold on. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. Not the regular intro this morning, or this evening, I guess, because we are on Skype. But with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. How you doing today, buddy? No, unmute yourself. Oh. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and we do not have the normal intro tonight because we are joined by a very special guest today on Skype. But with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, doing pretty good. How about you?
Well, I've been better, but it cost more. But I am very excited to be talking again with the creator of Merry Boys on Indiegogo. You will find the link for that down in the description below. How are you doing today, sir? Hello? I think he's here.
You're still muted.
He's still muted. Check off audio issues on the card, folks.
No, it still says you're muted.
What we got? Hold on. Nope, we're not screen sharing. Not what we're doing. Let's see here.
That's microphone off.
There
microphone
we
on.
go. There we go. How are you doing today?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Huh?
Why don't
Good,
you,
good. Yeah, brilliant.
Yep. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, sir.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carl. I did a comic book. Well, I'm busy with a comic book called Merry Boys. And it is currently on In Demand on Indiegogo. And I've got another, I'd say, another 3-4 weeks before it's completed and I start for filming. So it's been a long road, but yeah, almost there, almost done. Quite excited about it.
So are we.
Absolutely.
Thanks for backing, guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Absolutely. I was looking forward to getting this. I had to wait until I had some funds. I was glad that it was still in demand when I was able to. But when we had you on, I was pretty captivated by the artwork that I saw and the concept of, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, except they're Englishmen that just beat the crap out of people. Just it really tickled my fancy, as you Brits
really resonates.
So, as an aside, though, before we get into the crowdfund side of things, I've been doing this with guests recently, and I know that the UK was added to the coronavirus party recently. How are you guys handling that over there?
We were fine for a while. I thought it's not going to make, because I'm in the southwest, right? I'm close to Wales on that side, far away from Barble, London, and these places. But yeah, so somehow the Welsh have got it and passed it on to some people here, and now I heard about 2 blocks away from our work, somebody's been diagnosed with coronavirus, and the place has been quarantined. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I think today alone, like 6 different continents or 6 different nations and 4 or 5 states here in the U.S. were added to the party.
Yeah. How's it happening? How's it working? I saw that there was some sort of death cult that adopted the virus, and they set out to spread it as far as possible. I saw that on the news today.
Yeah, and their leader came out and tried to apologize, like, "Sorry guys, my fault. No biggie though.
My bad."
It's gone. Let me take the stream start soon off. I apologize, but I am such a boomer that I am not able to get your camera up on stream. So if you wanted to kill that, you can, if it'll save you some bandwidth. Nobody's going to be able to look into your beautiful mug this evening, unfortunately.
Pretty face. Damn, it's my only selling point.
No, I think
go
ahead.
It's my wife's picture on there.
Well, I think the merit of your work is a selling point in and of itself, because the last time we talked, I think you were concerned about being able to reach your goal. Let's see, what was the original goal? 8,000, I believe it was US.
The original goal was 3,000 US or
Oh, okay,
something.
okay.
Yeah,
And for some
yeah,
reason,
it was really low.
you were concerned about being able to make it. You've blown that out of the water tremendously at this point. You are currently at $11,308 US. Hopefully, it'll be a little higher by the end of the show. I'll go ahead and bring that up on screen here. But
Now, I have a quick question for you, Church.
sure.
Because throughout this weekend of shows, we've been talking about like shipping costs and stuff like that. What was your shipping cost when you went to check out for backing that?
I have no idea if you want me to be completely
No.
honest. Why? What was yours?
It was eight pounds. I don't know what that comes, but
Yeah,
not
eight
bad
pounds.
for
Yeah,
for
yeah, we got.
shipping. Go ahead.
I hate to say it, yeah, we got cheaper shipping rates, cheaper international shipping rates than you guys, so we can afford to send it out a bit cheaper.
Is that just
So
England? Is that just England trying to get back at us for the Tea Party? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Anytime we want to send anything over, you're like, nah, fuck that. You throw our shit in the water.
Well, let's throw my shit in the water on the way in, please.
No, I don't. I don't think you'll get a decent beverage if you soak the comic book. Definitely not as decent as the reading experience. You're guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
brilliant.
but no, I've got the. Oh, go ahead.
I know. I was just going to say, so much has changed since we last spoke. But yeah, carry on. Yeah, we can.
Work with me. I've got the campaign pulled up here. Like I said, when we had you on the first time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but you were not quite sure that you were going to be able to make the original goal, and if I'm not mistaken, we had talked about possibly relaunching if that were the case, and adjusting some things. Well, that wasn't the case. So did you experience like a spike in backers? Was there anything that helped push you over the edge, or was it specifically being on this show?
Oh yeah.
I'm kidding. Obviously, I know it wasn't this show, but what actually pushed you over the edge?
It was many shows. It was everybody pitching in Comicsgate. Basically, it started off. I was meant to go onto John Malin's stream, and his channel got nuked for some reason. I think somebody played something that was copyrighted and got struck.
Right.
And then Antonio Bryce invited me onto his stream.
Press, he's a good dude.
And yeah, he's a great dude. I really like him. And yeah, so and while I was on that stream, Ethan Van Sciver saw my stuff, and he was like, "Come on to my stream as well," and it just snowballed from there, and there's just been a lot of interest after that. It was really great seeing that. Yeah, everybody just helping to promote it. It's just we've got such a great network,
Right, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate. We had. Happy Jack, Jason Meadows, whatever you want to call him, from Knuckle Supper Studios on earlier this weekend, and that was one of the things that he said, that the most important thing is to network. Try to get to know as many people as you can, get the book out there. Like, I've heard a lot of people talk about pitfalls of traditional advertising when it comes to indie comics, and I see advertisements for stuff like Earthworm Jim and Bigfoot Bill. And with a name like Doug to Naples, that may be a little bit more beneficial. But for a small indie guy, it's better to just get on with, people and push the book to as many audiences as you can. Try and build your own audience on Twitter, on YouTube, all of that stuff. Would you agree with that, or?
Definitely. And also, if you're a household name, then you're quite right. Your appeal is going to be a lot broader, possibly to people who've played the game. In the case of Doug to Naples,
Right.
So there's a lot crossover. There's a lot more. Oh, I know. Oh, this is the guy who did, and then there'll be more. You'll get a lot of. I think you'll get a lot of people who aren't traditionally into comics but into games. Who are going to back your campaign. Whereas with us, we were pretty much, for the most part, just complete unknowns, and we have to rely on that initial sell. Because we don't have the repertoire that precedes us.
Well, that's definitely a shame because I look forward to a Merry Boys game where again I get to walk around as a mutant Englishman and beat people with cricket bats.
They beat other Englishmen too.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just want to pull a Casey Jones and hit somebody and say that's 6 runs.
Cricket.
Yep.
Cricket. Yeah, nobody understands cricket.
You got to understand what a crumpet is to know cricket. But
very good.
Anyway, we've got the campaign pulled up here. So you still got all of your tiers. You can get the book as low as $6 on the digital level. You can get a digital premium for 10, the print comics for 15, 3 art prints included with the print comics for 26, and the original interior art tier still has 6 slots left for 344 USD. Now the original sketch tier is closed off, so it looks like, what was that, 30? 30 original sketches. So kudos on that.
Yeah, there was a lot. I haven't finished drawing all of them yet. As soon as I've finished doing all the pages, I've done about half of them, I think.
Okay.
And I'll just do the rest later on when I'm at the stage of fulfillment. But yeah, people really lapped those up. I was quite surprised. At least now I know. I should definitely do that again.
Well, it takes a lot to, at least for me. I'm not sure what the general audience feels, but we've been conditioned for decades now, honestly, that comics are in color. You very rarely see a black and white comic. I mean, you get like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or something like that comes around once in a blue moon. But for the most part, you guys, you look for a color comic. It takes a lot, I think, to sell an audience on a black and white comic. But your artwork really just it has a dimension unto itself.
Appreciate
it. The way you've got shading shown here, the line art, the blacks being deeper in certain areas. I'm not sure if you're using like an ink wash or just cell shading, but
ink wash. Yeah, ink wash, all traditional.
Okay, so Mrs. Church in the chat. It killed me the last time he was on the show because I knew more about the stuff he was into growing up and inspired by than my husband. Mr. Church better have invested in this one. I did, Mrs. Church. You can look forward to when this fulfills. We will have a copy of, I believe, both issue 1 and 2. Correct?
That's right. Yeah, it's the thing. I wanted it to be a complete story because I have noticed that on a lot of campaigns, you'll have somebody funding the first part of a story, and then you have to wait 9 months, a year for the second part.
Right.
And it kind of puts me off personally as a backer. So I thought, I will just try and avoid that and give somebody a whole package rather than try and split it up.
Well, I think a lot of people agree with you. Like you see that with something like Cyberfrog, the demand for the continuation of Cyberfrog in Wrecked Planet pushed the next project that Ethan Van Sciver had planned, Rainbow the Brute or Rainbow Brute, whichever one he's going to end up going with. It pushed that completely out of the woodwork, and he started almost immediately working on Wrecked Planet and more Cyberfrog stuff. So
yeah, that's it. That's the right thing, I think.
And just to step away from the indie side of things and the Comicsgate side of things real quick, it boggles my imagination that this side of the comics industry, like our side of comics, are like that. Yet when you look at Marvel and DC and IDW and all these other companies, trade paperbacks are the worst selling endeavor they have. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, there's a market for completed, full story chunks, but they see less returns on trades than they do single issues. And I have a few theories about that, mainly because when you sell a trade to a bookstore, I believe there's a different returnability policy. So they end up eating
Yeah.
a lot more of those copies when they don't sell than they do single issues. But, I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, with the traditional big two publishers, I haven't really supported that stuff for quite, for many years. So I'm not really sure. I pretty much left mainstream comics. Well, reading mainstream comics in the '90s already.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I've dipped in every now and again. Every time I put my toe in, I'm like, oh, shh. I don't want to read any of that.
Well, just to kind of give you an idea of where the mainstream comic industry is right now, She-Hulk is now the largest and dumbest Hulk. Wolverine is supposedly bisexual in a relationship with Scott Summers and Jean Grey. So after I saw that, and the new Green Lantern, which is a self-insert of Brian Michael Bendis' daughter, is the most powerful Green Lantern ever. So
of course,
I
saw the pictures of the She-Hulk, and it was basically the Hulk without a dick and a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. Like, go ahead, Ayrton. Sorry.
Oh, I said I should have poured bleach instead of Guinness.
Well, there's still time for your second round. Don't worry.
True.
But no, it staggers my imagination because people are coming out and saying, "Oh, well, you're just a misogynist because you can't masturbate to She-Hulk anymore." And I'm like, first off,
watch me, motherfucker.
Don't issue a challenge to me.
Watch me.
But
might be a bit tricky, but
they come out.
You really need a good imagination to make that work.
Well, they come out and they say that it's because the character's not sexually attractive anymore, and they don't understand that we've grown up with these characters. Like, we saw She-Hulk from her conception growing up. We saw that Bruce Banner. Sorry, I was caught up on the TV show. Bruce Banner gave a blood transfusion to his cousin. She became a Hulk, but retained her intelligence, became a lawyer, was really involved in the Civil War side of things, was involved with Matt Murdock for a while. Basically had to come to grips.
Strong female character.
Yeah, absolutely. Was a member of the Fantastic Four when Ben Grimm left the team for a little while.
All that stuff.
Yeah, she was such a dynamic character, and now you've taken all of that away and you've made her a mindless brute because female empowerment? I mean, I don't understand.
I think it's just an epic exercise in trolling. It's a shit test. They're doing this so that people will go, oh, that's all it can be. I can't think of any other reason for this. And the Wolverine stuff, I thought it was a joke. I really honestly thought I saw something like that on Ethan's stream. He showed Jordan or whatever his name is from Marvel. I thought he was exaggerating. So that's actually part of the storyline. Wolverine is now bisexual or something. Is that right?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I hope it is a joke. I hope it is, just kind of a clickbait troll thing. But honestly, the way things are going, I can believe it.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Which is the worst part.
That's the problem. Is that it's a believable idea. That is something.
George, what gets me is that fine. If he had been bisexual from the beginning, okay, but how are they going to retcon all this? How are they going to retcon all these sexual? Because I mean, you can see the guy's literal thoughts in the thought balloon. How are they going to explain away? All the decades of us, reading about Wolverine, this didn't crop up anywhere. It's just, it really insults the reader's intelligence, and that's the real crime. Yeah.
I do think we have a a friend of the show who wants to pop in and join us for a moment, if that's all right with you. Normally he just barges in, so let me see if he's.
I was just wondering how he was going to try and do that.
Yeah, let me see if he has his Skype set up, if that's all right with you. Let's see.
Yeah.
I just tell him to message me on Skype, and I'll pull you in. All right, there we go. If he messages me, I'll get him in here. But normally he's got the access to just barge into the Discord and just kind of start going off, and that's kind of his gimmick. But he's a really nice guy. So and another great artist. He's actually the one responsible for the backdrop of the show and what I use for the thumbnail.
All right. The comic panels.
Yeah. So, really good friend of mine. He's actually going to LA for a road rage with Dick Masterson later on. So that'll be good. I'm trying to get him to call in from location there, but we'll see how that goes.
You better.
But anyway, kind of back onto it. No, it's just Marvel Comics. It's believable that that's a way that they're taking a character. I mean, how hard have they tried to force Carol Danvers as a replacement for the titular character of Marvel instead of Spider-Man?
Yeah. That, I mean, I remember, back when I was really actively reading Marvel comics, and Captain Marvel was it was such an interchangeable character. A title worn by so many different characters that there was no continuity with one character. There's almost zero recognizability outside of your hardcore sort of comic book reader for that character.
Right.
Trying to shoot her into the public eye now is just feels a bit artificial. It doesn't really work. But
Well, and here's the thing: if you are one of those people that kind of takes a deep dive into a character when you enjoy them, I'm pretty familiar with Marvel as Captain Marvel, and I'm not sure if I brought this up the last time you were on, but I'm also a big fan of the Marvel superhero Secret Wars from like 1987. And if you remember correctly, Iron Man of that era was Rhodey. Captain Marvel of that era was Monica Rambeau. So
the black.
Yeah, all of these people pushing this SJW agenda and calling everyone a bigot and a misogynist and all that stuff for not liking the forced diversity. It's just not the case. My first Captain Marvel was a woman, a black woman. My first Iron Man was a black guy. My first Avengers leader was the Wasp, for God's sake. So,
yeah, but we're just racist and bigots.
Right.
The thing is this, all right? The people who are making these assertions aren't really into comics. They don't actually know any of this stuff. I don't think they know it. I think they just, they're seeing the criticism and they're saying, "Oh, you've got a problem with this," and then they give you a knee-jerk reaction without looking into the actual data, without familiarizing themselves with actual history of comics, essentially.
Right.
But
and it's always like a straw man argument as well. Like there's never any basis to their allegations. It's always just, oh, you don't like this, so you must be. A plus B doesn't have to necessarily equal the C, but we're going to say it does.
Yeah. I'm so over caring about I think there's still people who think, okay, well, we can save this somehow if we make a big enough noise about this, then Marvel and DC, mostly Marvel, will bring things back to the way it was. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm looking forward to different things.
Well, I've mentioned this a few times over the last few months when we brought it up. It's kind of been an ongoing topic. But I honestly don't think they will. I think that Marvel, DC, all of these comic publishers have gotten entirely too comfortable with the diamond distribution model. I think the fact
Mhm.
that they don't rely on customers to buy their books. I mean, to a certain degree, sure, they have to sell them to the stores, and the stores have to sell them to customers. So if the store's not selling them, they're not going to buy as many. But when you're on an order system that's 3 months out, how the hell can you possibly know until you're at least 3, 4 issues in that this book isn't going to sell? You know,
All the risk is on the LCS to
right?
somehow guess what's going to be the least toxic publication.
Yeah.
You know,
And then if
it's
something is slightly edgy, they can't, in good faith, they can't stock something that's like super edgy or super dark or anything because most of these stores revolve around selling Pokemon cards to kids now. So I mean,
yeah,
you're not going to
that's the
have
move
a.
to.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that the move to gaming, tabletop gaming,
Mhm.
manga, anime, stuff like that. It's like a healthy. I don't know what it's like over there, but it seems to be like a mix of stuff. Comics is taking. It's just becoming a smaller and smaller, parts of the offering when you go
Well,
to a comic shop
well,
these
on that
days.
on that token, since the last time we had you on, my local comic store is no longer a local comic store. Uh, they are just a local collectible shop now. You can get baseball cards, you can get Pokemon cards, Magic cards. You can play D&D and get all your D&D books there. Uh, there's not a comic in the store anymore. They don't even have
I
back
believe you.
issues in there anymore. They just couldn't afford the space for it because it was dead space in the store.
Uh,
And
yeah, no, it's how it is.
I've been
Yeah,
buying comics there off and on for 30 years. So, what are you supposed to do, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, true. And I mean, it's people's businesses too. It's not just where you go shop. It's also like this. It's somebody's investment. It's somebody's livelihood. Funnily enough, when I went to my local comic book shop a while back, and I was starting to ask around about just to see what sort of reaction I would get. I asked, "So, do you have any Cyberfrog?" And the guy's eyes lit up and like, "Cyberfrog, you say?" And he looked around to see, if there was anybody else with an earshot.
Right. Who's
No,
who's
but I
watching the
wish
talk?
we
Yeah.
could. Yeah, I
It's like
wish.
he's about to tell a bad joke.
Yeah, but the attitude towards Comicsgate was very good. It was literally I spoke to him and said, I'm local. I've got a campaign. It's successful. I'll be, and I'm working out a deal just to have it in that shop and maybe one or two others. Just it's easy enough to drop off and get people to buy it from there. But it was just nice to see. We aren't as reviled as some people will lead us to believe.
Well, that's in the UK. I'm afraid to say that I don't think that a lot of people over here would have the stones to even take that look around.
They would probably just tell you to get out.
I mean, there are a
Uh,
handful, like maybe in the more conservative South. Um, like I've made it pretty clear that I'm in the southern United States, and down here you've got a lot more MAGA hat wearing, Trump supporting, non politically correct people, but you don't have a lot of comic fans. So when you do find them, they are typically the more liberal, the more you know social justice types, and I understand it, but they're not even buying the crap that's coming out anymore.
yeah,
I
that's
blame Tumblr and Marvel Studios.
You,
yeah.
you guys
No,
have to excuse me. I've got a little coof. I'm starting to coof a little bit over here.
Oh no.
Got
Oh
the
no. We're gonna lose church. I'm gonna have to run the shows.
yeah. We're gonna get you an intricate switchboard set up out of acorns and bark and tree roots, and that's how you'll run the show.
Ooh, I like it. I could probably work that. But that could be a fun segment if either of us happen to be somewhere and see a random comic book store go in, like with our phones going, and just be like, "Hey, do you have any Cyberfrog or any Earthworm Jim?" And just see what reaction we get out of them.
Oh man, yeah. Well, and that's another thing though. Like, I don't think a lot of local stores know a whole lot about Comicsgate around here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about out here.
I don't know about you guys, but here everybody's got an opinion, so everybody's heard of it. You can't talk about it without somebody saying something about it, either positive or negative, but everybody's heard of it one way or the other.
That's kind of amazing to me, honestly, because the way, and again, I'm familiar with it because of the Twitter and the YouTube stuff, but I look at the numbers, and while there are impressive channels out there, I mean, I think Ethan's well over 100,000 now. Between everybody, you might be looking at a little over 500,000 people that are familiar with CG as far as subscribers and followers go. But that's really not a lot of people when you look at the grand scheme of things. I mean, there's 7.5 billion people in the world. 500,000's kind of a drop in the pot. So when you think about it and you realize that at least in your general area that there's a large contingency of people that know about it, that's kind of a big deal.
I think it's also because it's comic book readers are just not that thick on the ground anymore. So when you speak to somebody about comic books specifically, then you've already narrowed down that part of the population.
True. I mean, there might be 10 million people that read comic books still around, which again is just a huge missed opportunity, especially with how huge the Marvel movies and everything have been. I mean, they should have been handing out issues at every opening that they did.
Oh yeah, there's very little crossover. It seems to me. It doesn't matter how well the movie performs. It just doesn't seem to affect the sales. And I think that's a marketing failure. I mean, there's no reason why it shouldn't.
The only true crossover that I know are the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because I don't know if you remember this or not, but at one point in time, Quicksilver was an X-Man and an Avenger in the movies, and they were still owned by two different studios. So in order to kind of cordon off the property from Fox Studios, or at least make it accessible for Marvel, they actually put out like a 3 or 4 issue miniseries or some shit, where it was explained that Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch were engineered, and they weren't actually mutants. They weren't Magneto's children. They were engineered by somebody. I don't even remember who it was, but they were not they were not mutants, and therefore they could be in the MCU.
Right. And there was a crossover, and that, but did that result in more in a? Yeah, they would have. I guess there's more of a direct tie into the comics.
Well, I think they wrote the comics so that they could, explain away the fact that they were Avengers and how they weren't mutants, because there was something contractually about not being able to use the X-Men or mutants because of Fox. And after they wrote that comic, then you started to see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Right. Yeah, it's a bit of.
Well, go ahead.
It's a bit of like a weird, like a almost like an inverse sort of a relationship between comics and movies. Because it seems almost to me like if the movie does well, it doesn't really have an effect on sales. But if the movie does badly and it pans, it seems to kill a franchise. Like, has this happened with Tank Girl? Just interest in the character Wayne. Yeah, big time after that.
Yeah. I often go to the defense of Tank Girl in the sense that that's who they've tried to create Harley Quinn to be, like who they've tried to mold Harley Quinn into.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
without the sex.
Well, without the kangaroo sex, at least. Like, she banged everybody. She banged Deadshot, Poison Ivy, Joker, Batman, Robin. I mean, she tried to bang everybody. Not as much recently, but I mean, it's not unheard of for Harley Quinn to be kind of a whore.
I haven't. Have you watched Birds of Prey? I haven't made the effort. To be honest.
I have not. But again,
I want to do it in a more efficient way. I own a handgun.
What was that, Ayrton? You break it up a little bit, but that's just Skype.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I said if I want to commit suicide, I'll do it in a more efficient way. I own a handgun.
Oh, there you go. Now, I have to lose a little bit of cred every time I admit this, but I actually still haven't sat down to watch Joker yet. I've been so busy.
Yeah, me either.
I've been so busy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally recommend it. Totally recommend it.
I intend to.
It's not a happy movie. It's not a happy movie, but it's really good.
Well, you get what you fucking deserve, from what I understand. That's the meme, at least. But no, I fully anticipate that it's really good. I've heard some glowing reviews of it. A lot of people that I respect their entertainment opinions of. I really think that I'll enjoy it. I've been working so damn much since right around Christmas that I haven't had time. We went and saw Sonic because my kids wanted to see it, but other than that, I haven't sat down to watch anything that takes more than a half an hour and God knows how long. Even podcasts and YouTube streams, I have to listen to them while I'm working most of the time.
Yeah, same here. In fact, what I've started doing is I've started playing the podcasts faster. You can adjust the speed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've got it sounding like chipmunks, but I get all the information. Just stay abreast of everything.
Well, I think that was a professional.
Good idea.
I think that was a professional level segue, though. As you're involved in the CG side of Twitter and everything, what's your opinion on this Detective Dead ordeal?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
It's such a fuck up. Sorry.
If you want to, oh no, absolutely, fucking swear all you want to. And I just wanted to say, as a caveat, at any point, if there's anything that you're not comfortable discussing, I totally understand, and I'm not going to pressure you to do so. So if you want to pass on anything, by all means. But
he cocked up so badly. I mean, he's not only screwed his backers, he's screwed all of us. That's my opinion on that. Now they're going to be. This just destroys confidence, and it just this is what people are going to remember next time they want to back something. Is this going to be another Critias affair? Because he had a huge campaign. He made what was it? 1,000. He was 1,300 backers or something. He raised about
38,000 American.
Exactly. It's huge. Absolute, very successful. He got drawn into the inner circle of Comicsgate. Everybody trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't think he did this intentionally. I think he just did not do any thinking around this at all.
It was, you think it was more incompetence than the maliciousness?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, well, the thing is, if he was going to, but only reason I say that is because he's come back. He's come back and he hasn't just disappeared completely, because that would have been the easiest thing to do.
Well, and again, I guess this really isn't devil's advocate, but I guess this is maybe instigator levels or whatever. Maybe this is but. As someone who has been backstabbed by the same person multiple times by my own accord, people with malicious intent will absolutely come back and try and save face. So I wouldn't let him off the hook that easily. I mean, I'm not saying that he did that, and I'm not saying don't forgive, but definitely don't forget.
No, you can't forget that. You can't forget that. The reason being is that I think other people will remind us he was one of you, and he did this.
Right.
You
And
know?
like you said, that reflects on the entirety of the group. Everybody. I mean, obviously, if you fulfilled before, if you have a good reputation, then that'll kind of clear you away. But all of these guys who are just finishing up their first books, all of these guys who are just doing their first run, have smaller campaigns. Maybe they're not as experienced or as well known. It's going to reflect on them. It makes Ethan's word and his endorsement worth less, which hurts everyone.
Yep.
You know,
That's
because
it. Yeah.
it just, and it puts more pressure on people who may just have some simple hangups. Because we talked about the coronavirus thing. That's going to affect everyone in the coming months because supply lines, you know, people are not going to be able to fill books because printers are going to be closed. Shipping's going to be interrupted, stuff like that, and that's beyond any creator's control. Even if they do everything that they're supposed to 100% on time, but because of someone like that, it's going to just be like, oh, well, you're just not going to fulfill my book. I want my money back. You're a week late. What's up? And it's just going to turn the pressure up on everyone.
Yep. I think there's a lot of people who are already getting, asking. I saw some people saying, "Okay, who else is late on their campaigns?"
Right. War Campaign's not going to let up. And I know a lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions about War Campaign. I am very friendly and very supportive of War Campaign because, I hate to say it, but no matter who you are or what you thought, when it comes to stuff like this, they always have the customer best interest at heart.
Yeah. My thing with War Campaign, I know a lot of guys who are in there, good people. With any group, you're going to get people that you don't agree with, but on the whole,
Absolutely.
it's almost like this defense system. It's this immune system, that keeps things straight. They will, if there's bullshit floating around, then they will expose that, and that's a vital function in a movement like this. Because I mean, what other standards are there? Who else holds people to any sort of standards in this? So that's necessary. There are people that I don't like, that other people don't like, and all that. But I don't think any of these conflicts are big enough for me and other people just to say, okay, we don't like Comicsgate anymore, we're going to go home. It's a sort of thing, like some people have done. I don't. If you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Print my comics at home.
Well, and too many of those, and the entire ship starts to sink.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it just, I don't know. I about halfway through the Antonio interview, and I mean, he did go through 100% of everything that he was spending the money on, all of that stuff. But what I don't understand is how he seemed to spend so much money frugally. You know what I mean? Like his artist or his inker, I think it was just the inker.
Yep.
Was like $8,900. Like what?
Yeah, he was averaging $200 a page, basically, and it was for 140 pages, 150 pages book or something to that effect. So these things add up very quickly.
They do, and I'm not saying don't pay your guys that well. Definitely, if you can afford to do that, but maybe stifle your expectations a little bit and say, "Look, man, you're kind of expensive. Let's work this out. Do we do this in 3 parts? Do I make the rest of the book a stretch goal? Do I shorten the book? How do we make this work for both of us?" As opposed to, "Nah, that's fine. Here's $5,000 of the money that I'm going to need to print this book."
Yeah, it's just like somebody didn't whip out a calculator. Somebody didn't do the really basic
abacus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. More or less. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, and
That's why I'm so happy that I'm doing everything my damn self, because I don't have anybody else to work with. I don't have anybody, any other things to take into account. It's just my effort, and it
right,
will be the printing costs and the postage costs, and little extras here and there.
right.
But
Yeah.
but that's like the patch and the patch that I have to get made, which I have to get made in China, which is probably going to be laden with coronavirus.
That's
But
right. That's right.
Oh, so you're gonna kill all of us.
That's right.
I'll just get it.
He's a member of the South Korean Death Cult. Don't blow his cover.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I'll see. I don't think that's a big issue. I think if I can't get it made there, I'll get it made in Eastern Europe somewhere, which will be easy enough. And I've got lots of friends there
Right.
who make stuff like that, so it shouldn't be an issue either way.
Well, I
Or get your grandma to point stitch it or whatever that's called, cross stitch.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Needlepoint.
Needle point. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. No, that's not how patches work, Ayrton. I'm
Oh.
afraid to say that I've made a few myself. So if you need any help with that, let me know. I might know some people. But no, I don't know, man. Like I'm following it, and I want to have sympathy for the guy because we all screw up, right? I've never $38,000 screwed up before. But we all screw up. We all make mistakes. Sometimes we make bigger mistakes than others. And, I think the biggest thing that he did wrong was not communicate with the people that had his back from day one. That's the first thing Ethan says when anybody comes to him with something that could have been avoided. Why didn't you talk to us? Why didn't you come to us?
Yeah, I'm in like some Comicsgate rooms, with that frequented by the core guys, and the first thing that came up when they heard that Critis was having problems, he couldn't finish the last few pages. People were whipping around. Artists were being asked, like, okay, so they were making plans amongst themselves to help bail him out by having each artist say do 4 pages in a similar style.
Right.
That was the immediate reaction. It was like, hey, let's help him.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So that was and that was great. That was great to see. But then, as soon as it started looking like, hang on, how did this happen? This wasn't one mistake. It was a series of bad, terrible mistakes. Then the judgment only started, but it wasn't off the bat.
Right. And, he also came out on Twitter and made that post about how many books he backed. And, you kind of have to ask
I don't
yourself.
get that at all.
No, and,
Yeah,
that
I don't
was
understand.
he said it was kind of a troll to bring in people and make them critical or whatever. And I'm like, dude, people were already critical. Like, you're probably, this is the first occurrence of that I've heard of that didn't get refunded. Like, anytime a project in the past, as far as I know, except for the ones that are still outstanding, but anytime a project in the past that I've seen hasn't completed, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't see everything. I'm a church, not a god. Um, they refund just because they haven't spent the money. But when you're unable to do either one of those things and you just kind of stick behind Indiegogo's protection policy, um, what are you telling everyone that might want to back something else?
Yeah, well, he's gonna.
Go ahead.
He's never going to do comics again like that. I guess he's going to have to accept that. Maybe he has accepted that nobody's ever going to trust him again.
Well, and I definitely don't want to monopolize the time I have with you by talking about another creator that we recently had on. But again, it kind of comes back to it because I'm actually asking everyone that I have on that has a project going on if they will come back on after fulfillment and talk about their experience with fulfillment. And through the entire, like, walk us through the entire crowdfunding process. The ups, the downs, what went well, what didn't. And again, going back to Tales from Narrowsville with Knucklesucker Studios, he said the best thing that he ever did was basically have the project done before he went live.
Very, very good. Yeah, very good. Because you don't know how long it's. That's something I completely underestimated, was the time it takes to promote.
Right. And the thing is he was prepared to print one book or 1,000 or whatever. And he had all of his art done, everything like that, and then he went live, and when the book funded to the point that it did, he was just ready to fulfill. Um, and he did really well with fulfillment. He said he got really lucky on some packaging material and shipping rates. He came out of pocket a little bit, but he feels like he broke even roughly to $100 either way. And that's kind of one thing that I'm interested in talking to people about as a social experiment in Comicsgate is, if you're not one of these big names that rakes in $250,000 on a campaign, what are you, how did you fare in the particular landscape of crowdfunding? Because comics have always been a razor thin margin, and I think people from the outside look and see, oh well, Mary Boy's made $11,000 for 328 backers. He's only got to print 700 comic books, and that'll cost him $1 a book. So that's $10,000 profit, and they're high. They have no concept of how much actually goes into this.
No. It's it kind of adds up quite quickly. I would say the biggest expense is postage out. To the States, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
Printing is actually one of the cheaper things. I'm over printing actually. I'm gonna have more because on the next campaign I want to add that as a tip.
Okay.
So that if you miss the first arc, then you can get it. I mean, I think it's quite valuable to keep it in print.
Yeah.
But even then, it's not going to cost that much comparatively. I mean, the printing stuff, if you do it on a larger scale, it's quite economic. The other stuff is there's a lot of hidden expenses, currency conversion fees. There's the platform fee. There's another hidden platform fee that I still can't understand. They've sent me the calculation, which just doesn't make any sense. Which is like adds up to another £250 or something on top of that.
Really?
So
on top of they're like what, 5% already?
Yeah, it's 5%. Then there's the currency conversion fee of 2.9. I think it's, and there's another fee of £20, which is apparently to get it into your bank. And then there's something else on top of that, which isn't in their terms and conditions. But I'm not sure. I just haven't gotten any clarity. I've been dealing with the kind of switchboard sort of customer service level types, and I haven't taken it that much further because I've just been too busy doing other stuff.
Right.
But at least next time I do it, I will say, okay, on this sort of fulfillment, I can expect this much I will have to pay to the platform in total. So next time I'll have a much better idea of how things are going to pan out.
Well, I know I said we might only do an hour, but I've actually gotten pretty lucky. Everybody's settled in here, so if you got a little bit more time, I've got a couple of more things.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. Yeah.
Now, are you familiar with Monster MD? That particular project, Shinobi
Yeah.
Sasquatch, Monster MD, all that.
Yeah, I backed Monster MD. I can't wait for that. I really like Von. Cool dude. And it looks amazing.
Oh, it does. It's. Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
It's the best of 90s comics and animated like Saturday morning cartoon shows shoved into one book. Like literally, it seems like a concept of something you would wake up on Saturday morning and watch while you ate your cereal.
Yeah. I think that one's got.
I'm gonna get some Lucky Charms to eat while I read it when it gets here.
Fucking heathen! You're gonna ruin your book.
I'll be careful. I'll
get one of those no spill bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
But now, have you considered crossing the Mary Boys over with anyone? Have you talked to anybody about doing something like that, or what are your thoughts on those kind of projects?
Oh, I don't think other creators will appreciate my boys smashing them to pieces with their cricket bat.
I mean, you never know. You never know. Sometimes, I
Because
mean, all of these. Go
did,
ahead, Aaron.
didn't we talk about uh, with Gilbert about Grom crossing over with Mary Boys? Didn't we bring that up as a joke?
We did. We did. The Galactic Rodents of Mayhem.
Oh yeah.
I was the number one backer on that campaign because it was one of the first books that I saw that I had to get in on, and it was kind of an ongoing thing between Ayrton and I. And I'm just sitting at work on my break, refreshing the page on my iPad, waiting to back that stuff. And when we
that theme song, I've still got that theme song in my head.
Yep.
Yeah. Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. I don't know where he got that from. But
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
It's an earworm that just kind of sticks in your head. But no, I just I don't know. It seems like a fun thing, but I'm not sure how well it's going to work over time. Like I think it works pretty well for what Von Klaus is doing with Shinobi Sasquatch. A monster doctor doctoring a monster. But I don't know. It kind of, I don't know. I don't want to sound negative or anything like that, but it seems like crossing over. It just leads to problems later on if if anything happens with one creator or the other, or they have like a falling out. Excuse me.
yeah, it's the problem is the non-shared universe. That's the problem. I mean, besides all I'm just talking from a purely creative point of view. It's never mind the legalistic point of, what's the intellectual property? Who owns what we created in this story? I mean that can get really ugly. And
we brought up the example of Todd McFarlane and Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman.
With Angela and Medieval Spawn and the legal battle that ensued there, and now Angela's a sister of Asgard that has fallen into obscurity.
Yeah, Spawn on a horse.
Hey,
basically, I mean, Medieval Spawn, but hey, he won. He won the case.
Yeah, well, I don't think he got Medieval Spawn. I think Medieval Spawn didn't meet the conditions of being different enough. But I know Angela was an original creation by him, even though the concept of Angela was used to create the entire League of Angels. And if you get past issue 15 or 20, you'll notice that Angela just kind of never appears again. Oh, can we see more artwork? Absolutely. Sorry, guys, I've been lax on there. I've just been enjoying the conversation. Yeah, I'll scroll down here. Are you watching the stream, Carl?
No, I can't see a thing. I'm looking at a blue screen.
Okay. Well,
fair
on
enough.
On the Indiegogo, I've scrolled down to the first page where the characters are introduced. You have Harry, Chaz, Philip, and William.
Yep.
And I like how Chaz has an exclamation point, and the rest of them just have periods. So, I mean, that's kind of a nice.
Chaz is
he's extra.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the crazier one.
So, but
he gets an exclamation mark.
There you go. And we keep scrolling down, and then we see the page where it looks like William is confronted by a large gang, and then you just kind of see the feet where they throw their beer cans down and jump up and commit to kicking ass.
That first page is a homage to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 1, where it's got the same. The first panel has got the same. It's got the same layout when they get confronted by the purple dragons.
Okay. It's been so long since I've read that issue.
Yeah, it's just a little Easter egg for for Turtles fans.
So then they're overdosing a drug dealer. Give him a good dose of his own medicine. They help little old ladies cross the street, so they're not all bad.
No, they're good boys.
Yeah,
Deep down.
they set a dirty dick's cakes on fire. Looks like
Yeah.
so.
I mean, that's it. It's too. I mean, it is violent, but but you have to have a little bit of sweetness. I find that if you can tell something terrible in a humorous way, it is kind of becomes more acceptable. It's my theory anyway. We'll see how it pans out.
And there's the color print of the which one is this one exactly? The color
No,
print.
Chavs.
Yeah. Who is this character here? I'm not sure yet how to tell them apart.
Oh, that's Chaz. He's got the cross on the forehead.
Okay.
The tattoo.
Okay. So let's yeah, Elias de Plume is he's in love with this. So I'm thinking you can probably look forward to him backing. So
Awesome.
now, are you still doing the making of booklet?
Yes, because we hit the goal.
Right.
I've already put the booklet together, and it's got notes on things that inspired me, a lot of art and prototypes and things that didn't make it into the book. So because I just saw it, I've got a lot of the stuff lying around. It would be nice to put it in a little limited edition booklet that's not going to be available again, for people backing this campaign.
Okay.
So I'll just print that for as many people as who backed it, and then just probably not do that again.
No, I love it, man. I'm completely in love with the project. My wife is excited about it. It's one of the few Comicsgate books that she got like giddy about.
You mentioned that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you. You mentioned that the inspiration that we share inspirations for comics.
Yeah.
So what she reads Mad Magazine, Will Eisner, that sort of thing.
I think so, but I think we talked about your comic book inspirations more so than anything. I'm not sure. You'll have to forgive me. It was back in September. I don't remember exactly what you said, but I know that she was right on par with what you were saying. So, I know she's a really big fan of like Keith Giffen's work. I know she's a big fan of Yonan Vasquez's work, stuff like that.
Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is.
I'm also big. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's got that say. It's got. That's the thing. I mean, if I had to find I'll probably never go with a small publisher ever again. But that was just the kind of place that I would see this sort of story fitting in the best.
Yeah,
like the early Oni Press, not the weird stuff that they publish now, and slave labor graphics back in the 90s. That's like Milk and Cheese, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, that sort of thing.
Now, I would put it more akin, at least in my experience, I would put it akin to something like the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters that we've covered on this show with Don Chen. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah. He's with Dynamite. Is he with Dynamite? Is he?
Well, the property is owned by Dynamite. Don is actually out of comics. We're going to try and have him back on next Saturday, I believe. Spoiler alert! I don't think Ayrton knew that yet.
What? No, you didn't tell me that.
That's right, I didn't. I saved it for the audience before I told you.
Hell yeah!
So
sounds awesome.
We're going to try and have him back on next week, but we're going to be talking about a lot of his parody press books, like The Tax and just the different like blatant rip-off comics that just parodied other characters. I can't think of any right now. I can look them up real quick. Probably would make me a better host if I was a little more prepared. Parody press. Yeah, Stupid Man. Yawn. The Infinity Charade, Venom. Let's see, Spineless Man 2099.
I'm not familiar with those. I have to look that up. Parody Press.
Yeah, Parody Press Comics. That was his imprint for a little while. I think he also did like a Ren and Stimpy that was like rank and stinky. His X-Men parody was like X-Cons. I mean, it's all just funny stuff, but I wanted to talk to him about some of those. One of those books graded at a 9.8 sold for like $300-400 on eBay at one point. He and I were talking about that.
Nice.
So that's going to be the topic of conversation for at least the first part of next Saturday's show. But this really reminds me of the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters in the sense that it's black and white. Now, your artwork is, and this is no offense to Personovich, but your artwork miles above the original.
Way better.
Adolescent radioactive black belt hamster artwork. Did you do the lettering yourself as well in this campaign?
Yeah, I did, but I've got the benefit of working for a comic book publisher a while back, so I got to learn all that stuff the hard way, lettering and InDesign. Just having it drilled into me how to do it properly. Because I know that one of the big problems is that when people letter their own comics, they think, oh, it's okay, it's just like the last little bit. I can. It's not. It's it can ruin the whole. You either notice lettering or you don't. You don't want to notice the lettering because it means you've screwed it up. Basically, it's just So I'm very conscious that you probably shouldn't do it. You should probably always get a professional letterer. But I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this, and it just ties in with my whole sort of approach to this book. That's one of I'm just glad that I can do the whole thing myself rather than farm it out and risk like a Critias sort of situation developing over time.
Is he going to become?
Right. And that's something.
Is he going to become a verb now? Like,
he is.
Go ahead.
A Critias, yeah. Then Critias your project. It's good. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, Critias. Jesus Christ.
Trademark the Gospel of Comics.
That's right. 25 cents a usage. But no, man, you're definitely a machine. So you wrote the story, you drew it, you did all the shading and everything, the ink washing, you did the lettering. Yeah, you're a machine, sir. And I hope you only have to spend $700 to get this fulfilled because you deserve so much more money than what you're probably going to end up getting out of this campaign for this level of work.
It's for love.
Well,
a little bit and a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it shows through just on what we can see here.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for this to get across the pond to us.
I can't wait for people to actually read it. That's the thing. I mean, a lot of people are seeing this the artwork, and it's like kind of like the superficial sort of first glimpse of what it is. But I think when a lot of people read it, they will, they'll see it. There's a lot more to it than just than what you see on the tin. If you get what I'm saying. Yes, there is a lot of ass kicking. There's a lot of black humor, but there's a lot more to it too. There's another dimension that people can't see yet. So right. I can't wait to fulfill it and get those reviews and get those people reading it. There might be some people who go, "Oh, okay, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be," but I think, this is for me personally, it's the sort of comics I would buy and I would support, and I've always been looking for. So hopefully I can get enough people who feel the same.
But before you got all deep on me there, I was going to make a joke that the troll has been discovered is that what we see here is going to be in the book, but every other page is just going to be like stick figures.
They're all bisexual.
He's just going to be sitting somewhere in a pub in England counting money, being like, "Got him."
I'll be sure to come back just so that you don't think I did it on purpose. Yeah.
Stick figures and Comic Sans for the rest of the lettering.
That's right. But no,
Yeah.
I
Well, it said
honestly,
comic in it. I figured that's what it was for.
I'm really looking forward
I
to
farmed
this.
the rest of the book out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you farmed it out to Fiverr for the cheapest thing you could get. But no, I'm really looking forward to this project. I hope everybody backs it while they have a chance before it goes into production. Um, I don't think there's a way to refresh this at the moment, but I do hope that, like I said, everybody takes a chance to check out the links down in the description. You can follow Carl on Twitter at MaryBoys1, the number one. That's down in the description below as well, so give him a follow.
Which it's weird that at the Mary Boys was already taken. Like you had to go with the one.
I was the idiot who took it, and somehow for some do you know what it was? You know what it comes down to? It comes down to me putting fag end into the description. So that end obviously
Yeah.
picked it up, and they rejected it. But I couldn't get rid of the old handle because now it's been taken, and you can't I couldn't retrieve it for whatever, so I had to go with Mary Boys 1, and then I had it. So yeah,
Fucking
God
Twitter.
damn it, Jack Dorsey.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that's about all I had as far as questions go. Ayrton, do you have anything?
I think that's about it. I mean, to be honest, I was a little unprepared for this episode.
So that makes it different from every other episode. How?
That's besides the point.
Well, if we keep it, go ahead.
Oh no, that's cool. It's cool. I wasn't going to say anything meaningful. I was just.
Oh well, I was going to say if we kept going too much longer, I was going to have to recount the story of Skin Pants that I heard this morning on the Wake and Bake, and I don't think anybody wants that. I don't think anybody wants to know what Skin Pants are. So
I'm already uncomfortable.
good. I'm going to tell you after the show. You have to listen.
God damn it.
But anyway, definitely thank you for coming back on with us, and I look forward to having you back after fulfillment takes place. If you would be so kind to come back with us.
Definitely. In fact, I want to put I can give like a unique sort of British perspective on it, just because obviously we've got different printers, we've got different postage rates, and all sorts of things like that. So that's all quite relevant. And also, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but we've basically rounded up all the Comicsgate guys on this side of the pond, and we've started doing our own broadcast at Comicsgate.
I've seen CG UK. I've seen CG UK, CG Japan. I mean, I'm seeing factions pull up all over the place. I just hope it doesn't cause like an international rift. I don't want an international CG gang war.
No. The reason for it is mostly the time zones because that's the big thing.
Yeah, see, I don't care.
World War CG.
I don't care about time zones. I'm inviting everybody on. I don't care. Wake up. But no, seriously, I definitely appreciate you coming on with us, and I look forward to having you back on the show. And I definitely look forward to getting this book in my hand and doing a thorough review of it live here on the show. So
lovely. Thanks so much for backing, guys. Really appreciate your support.
Thank you, sir, for making such great work.
Lovely. Okay. Great. I'm going to hit the hay.
All right, man.
Speak to you guys.
All right, buddy. Thank you again. And Ayrton, if you would be so kind to send us off.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys. And you guys have a great one. Again, Mary Boys Indiegogo in the description down below. Go back it. Check it out. Share it. I'm sure you know somebody that wants it. If you don't, convince them they do. Good night. We'll see you
get
next
better
time.
friends.
That's right. You don't need that negativity in your life. But anyway, we will see you guys on the next one. Have a great one, guys.
Night.